So when I applied for the job at Warwick, forgot to put that I was a chartered engineer. And then it kind of came up in the interview and they're like, why didn't you put that? And I just said, well, because everybody's a chartered engineer where I work, right? And they were like, oh, yeah, well, nobody's a chartered engineer. So it would be a really important thing for you to include in your application. And then what Rich was saying about I think the fellowship of the Higher Education Academy that Chloe was talking about, that is often a condition of probation for people who are academics. So they have to get that in order to end up getting a permanent academic role. And that is to kind of reflect the culture in theory of the department. I guess you can draw a lot of parallels with this, that it's supposed to mean that you're in a department where the culture of reflection and growing and looking at your own development is really important. And that also talks about influence and things. Chloe mentioned being target driven. And for me, I do have a kind of perspective on it that about being taken seriously, this kind of external validation. So I've always been young at doing something or perceived as being young and inexperienced, right? So even when I did get my fellowship, so 2019, is that 4 years ago? So I was 32. And I remember I met the guy later on who reviewed my application because I was doing a CEng interview. So I was volunteering for the IMechE to review CEng applications and to interview people. And he didn't realize it was me. And he'd said, oh, I've reviewed this really young person. And I almost like didn't even look at their application. But he says, I looked at it and yeah, they'd kind of done a load of stuff. So I put it through. So I do think for me, there is this aspect of sometimes, especially within academia, as Rich was saying, there are not these external touch points. Unless you're getting grants, which are a massive pot of luck, there are not these external touch points for being like, actually, I am doing something which externally is considered and perceived quite good. And the other thing that I think is interesting about the fellowship is it is this kind of external. It's about impact, it's about influence, it's about reaching out, it's about making the engineering profession better. Not just the KPIs of whatever has been done within the environment that you're in, right? So it's not about what's necessarily important to the immediate culture around you. It shows that you're engaged with the wider culture. And for me, that's really important because I often feel like academia is quite a broken culture. So I'm much more keen on working externally, but you don't often get recognized for those things internally, which is what Chloe was saying as well, right? So to know that you're doing something which is helpful, which is kind of helping people and changing things for the better, all of those things feed it into this kind of desire to be recognized for that.